I'm not even sure why I'm making this episode. I mean, it's Michael Bay. The film's pretty much dead on arrival when you have Michael Bay attached to it. I mean, what more can really be said? I mean, everybody else has already pointed out the same stuff when it comes to Michael Bay's filmmaking, and it gets even worse when you realize that this is based on a true story. Yeah, like Michael Bay is the best filmmaker to make that kind of film. However, my curiosity was mildly piqued because the script was coming from the people that gave us the script for Captain America, the First Avenger, Thor, and the upcoming Captain America 2 and Thor Dark World. So I was kind of curious because they, okay, someone else is writing the script, which means this might have some potential. But then, yeah. The film started out really well, but it did not take long for it to take a really, really sharp nosedive. It started out well, it had like the nice, like, this is the true story sort of disclaimer thing, and I figured, okay, it's giving kind of a Dragnet cop sort of feel for this, and then you have Mark Wahlberg narrating about this whole American Dream thing. Okay, well, maybe it's that kind of film, and this is the voiceover that we're following, but then you get the voiceovers from all the other characters, and granted, the characters doing the voiceover over their own backstory can work, but it's not executed in a way that makes it cohesive in this film. It was just distracting with all the different voiceovers. That was the first problem that I noticed. The second problem is that there are some parts in the film that were either really stupid, really drawn out, and really long. I mean, there were literally several times where I just kept face-palming in the theater and wanted to shout out to the screen, "What the hell, Michael Bay?" And other times where I just wanted to go, "Seriously, Michael Bay?" when watching these scenes, because a lot of it didn't add anything. And the third major thing I noticed is that the film just didn't know what type of film it was trying to be. I mean, first it starts out trying to be kind of a loosely poetic Ocean's 11 style crime comedy, and then it turns into, well, a Michael Bay film in the middle point, and then suddenly turns into a true crime film because it was as if Michael Bay was like making this, okay, we got this thing, oh yeah, this is based on a true story, isn't it? So yeah, it's gotta get dark, and so they can kind of do the darker stuff that got them caught and all that. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Speaking of the realism, the only compliment I can give this film is that it has some fairly creative cinematography. I mean, I liked some of the GoPro shots, even though the resolution and look of them kind of clashed with the rest of the film. I liked how that added a nice degree of realism to it. However, a lot of it was negated by everything else. It doesn't help when one of the more creative shots, or at least some of the more creative shots, are literally repeated within the same scene. It was like as if he saw Rope or Touch of Evil or Goodfellas and said, hey, I can make my film look like it was shot. It has scenes that were shot in one take, even though the edits are really, really obvious. Had he actually done some of the transitionary stuff in one take, that would have been impressive. But no, we just had to keep getting the same stupid transition scene, even though a lot of what was going on elsewhere in the house didn't really add to that scene. I mean, they very well could have cut like the intercommentary stuff out, or cut out a bunch of the party stuff in that particular scene out, and have the scene work a lot better and focus on what it needed to focus on. And on that same note, the characters just don't feel like real people. I understand this is based on real people and they may have acted this way in real life, but in this case, they feel like frickin' cartoons, which is really sad because they get a lot of good actors in this film. Not many of them are that believable, at least not the ones that we were following throughout most of the film, which is part of the problem because we're not really sure who we're supposed to be following. I mean, the detective was pretty good. Tony Shalhoub did a pretty good job and he seemed more believable than our main characters, especially when after like they get the money and are like living the hub. It's just a case of, what are you doing, movie? Are you even trying? If you haven't guessed by now, I did not like this movie. The story had potential, and I liked where it started, but then, well, let's just say the script wasn't safe from the touch of Bay. They had the script, which could have worked well in the hands of any other director, but they had to give it to Michael Bay. Bravo, Paramount. Bravo. That said, on my personal scale, Pain and Gain gets a 2 out of 5. Reason that it's a 2 out of 5 and not a 1 out of 5? Well, the acting was pretty good. I liked some of the cinematography, but everything else was really weak. So that's why it's getting the ranking it's getting. Now, I normally do like the recommendation stuff, but, well, this film is not good. It's not even worth seeing in the dollar theaters. Just skip it. Don't even bother. You'll probably be doing more of a service to the people who actually survived the events that this is all based on by not watching it, because really, the story of what actually happened is actually pretty interesting. But seriously, why Michael Bay? I can't get past that. Who looks at the script, looks at the concept, and says, you know who would be a good director for this? Michael Bay! So that's it for this week's episode of Romney's Reviews. As for next week, Iron Man 3. See you then.